Good afternoon and welcome to the Art of Synthesizing. Uh, Thanks for joining this session, and hope you had a good event so far, and really looking forward to kind of explaining how we use and exploit the art of synthesizing at IDEXX. Before we do that, first a little bit about myself. I've been working for over 25 years now in the global market research industry, both at the client side and at the agency side. And actually, you can see some of the brands that I worked for at the bottom of this page. So it's primarily paint, it's biscuits, quite for a long time, snacks, and also a bit of pet food there. Right now, I'm actually working at IDEXX, which is a company focused on diagnostic testing for pets. Uh, at IDEXX, I'm part of a team of about 15 market researcher and analysts we have right now. And my role is actually heading up the business partner side of that team. So we're really focused on developing the outside-in perspective together with our internal partners or clients, the way you would like to name them. And with that, actually, we leverage the internal centers of excellence we have around different types of testing and specific areas of analytics. Actually, I've been working for 25 years in market research, so I do have this passion for insights in general, but actually also about the activation of that part. I think that's really critical, and that's actually what gives me the most energy. So through my career, I really enjoyed many insight-led innovations, clever strategies that we actually helped developing, and also smart communications that really resonated well with the target audiences. And I guess the essence overall in this role is kind of helping and guiding the business to make better decisions and in the end be more successful. Also a bit about the company I work, IDEXX. Actually, we have over 9,000 employees, and we're present in more than 175 countries. Most of you will actually not be familiar with this company, only if you're pets, there's a bigger chance of you having seen one of our instruments or equipment actually in a vet clinic. As you can see on the picture, we provide diagnostic products and services, so either in practice or through reference laboratories where people can actually send their samples or actually helping vet clinics with the practice management software. The overall purpose of the IDEXX company is to enhance health and well-being of pets. And it's actually also the main reason why I joined this company. I'm a very happy pet owner. I once experienced the benefits of proper diagnostics that really kind of helped and saved my dog. And ideally, I would like to use my knowledge, my experience to make that happen for even more pets. Now for today, I would like to actually take you through three main topics. So first of all, it's about the benefits of insights driven through experience. I think this comes from the fact that we all have probably too much data coming to us, but the really in-depth customer knowledge sometimes is missing. And my philosophy is that if you actually merge that with experiencing the customer, that really brings the deeper connection. Second part is about do-it-yourself research. I think that shift has started already many years ago. That keeps on continuing, and I even notice within my teams and the teams I've been working on that we do more and more ourselves actually. So what I think about that is there's many risks, probably also some negatives if people outside the market research department start doing that. On the other end, there's so much positive energy there when people start doing that and start to reach out to customers that we should try to leverage that and actually get more out of that. And the last part is about maximizing the value for the company by kind of merging all the fragmented observations and data points that we have throughout the company and bring them together in some kind of collective insights. And then, of course, also act upon that. But I will come back on all of these points in more detail later in this presentation. So let's start with that first kind of observation, which is all about the overload of data. Again, this is not a new topic, but I think there are also many different ways of dealing with that. First of all, I think it's about appreciating, having a data-driven culture. This is something I guess most of us really support. This moves us away from the gut feel kind of decision making from I think it is this. No, it really moves to fact-based, and I know actually it is like this. So definitely something to cultivate and move on this. On the other hand, too much data can drive some kind of data paralysis, and that's of course something we don't want to happen. Too much data, marketeers actually don't know where to start working with that data. And actually what I see at IDEXX and probably also in some other companies, we actually spend a lot of time in just preparing the data for analysis. I guess that's even worse. Overall, what we see is that most people also within our company are really data rich, but somehow insight poor. So they kind of stop at the level of the what. So they don't really think about the motivations behind. And I guess we really have to work together with them to make the data meaningful, actually. But you actually also see basically through that, the fact that people kind of depend on the data and the facts they have, is that they somehow disconnect from the target. They think they have the data, so they kind of know what behavior looks like, but do they really know it all? Do they really fully understand? And I think sometimes by having too much data, the kind of curiosity is kind of gone. The kind of why behind the behavior, that sometimes feel kind of missing. So it's all about, we think we know quite a lot about our target customer. We do have a lot of data, but for me, sometimes really remains to kind of superficial insights, and that is a concern. The second observation we discussed before is about do-it-yourself research. Again, I would like to emphasize, I really encourage and celebrate the fact that colleagues actually would like to reach out to customers and try to embed that in their way of working. And I think we should actually use this energy and drive more customer focus and keep on engaging with our target audience. However, we all see the downside of it, and there are some risks and issues with that. First of all, the quality. Some people actually see doing research as a kind of tick in the box. They had to reach out to customers and they just do it with very low involvement. I think tools like SurveyMonkey, MS Forms, and whatever we use make it so easy. They do kind of the pre-thinking. There are predefined questions there. So basically means that our people don't really think about it. They just click some questions, send it out, or do it in that way. And that is a risk, actually. I think there's also a bit of a risk with the credibility of insights team, because then the word market research becomes really diffused. Some people actually reach out to one or two customers and use that as calling it market research. And again, we have to be very clever about it and also kind of protecting the real market research. So my advice on this is really about try to be involved as much as possible. Try to train those people and do it in the proper way. The overall objective is to be more customer driven. And with that, we just have more sets of hands, ears, eyes, brains to actually do that. So use that passion, but also try to step up that game, optimize the approach. And I will come back to that a bit later. Third observation is about the fragmentation of data, insights and knowledge. Probably most companies have their libraries in place where they stock the reports, and sometimes this even goes to an insight level, market data. However, normally this is not always done in the most engaging way for our internal stakeholders and people we work with. Most people are actually not really aware that they can get all the information. And for other people, it's just too difficult to kind of find the data and bring it all together. So I think the reality is actually that very small part of the real data and insight that's available is being reused and being used for that proper cause. And still, I think we remain with the fact that all the other information is actually really siloed and very difficult to bring together. So companies do have a lot of siloed and individual knowledge. And this might even lead to some kind of repetition of what we do already. So as an organization, we do not really learn. And the other disadvantage of this is that we are not really able to create kind of synergies, because on specific projects, actually the required information and knowledge doesn't really come together. On top of that, that also makes that sometimes the big picture is missing. If you're really focused on those small components, missing certain parts of data, actually that doesn't give you the total picture and doesn't help you to make the right decisions. So actually, I think it's our role to kind of assure that those different parts actually come together and that we focus the teams and really help them on synergizing. So how can we actually do it? How can we bring that together? How can we leverage the do-it-yourself mentality and the spirit to go out? How can we actually create more engagement? I would almost count it call that ownership of that customer, that you really know the customer very well. And how can we actually work on bringing those fragmented observations to some kind of collective knowledge? And what I would like to share in the next couple of minutes is a kind of an example of a program that we developed at IDEXX. This program is actually called the In Touch program. We started this in 2019, and we're actually going to continue it because of the success also during 2020, which actually was a bit more challenging due to COVID-19. Just to explain a little bit more about it, at IDEXX, the company used to be very much internal focused, and we were extremely successful. There was not so much competition at the beginning, so there was not a real need to go outside and try to meet the needs of the vets in a better way. But then over time, competition came in, and the strategy was definitely to become more outside in oriented, and that's actually where this program came into play. So let me explain you just a little bit more about it. So as you can read on this chart, In Touch with Customers, it's not something unique or special. I guess many companies actually have it. They probably call it differently, so Customer Connect or Customer Safaris or True Immersion. There are many ways of calling it, but I think it's all about going out and meeting the customers, collect observations, do workshop around it, and then in the end, provide true and new insights that you need to prioritize and then activate again. In the next pages, I will actually share with you how we do it, because I think that really makes a difference, how you actually execute it, how you really bring the different components together. I think that will take you to the next level, and then you can only benefit from all those different energies and sources that we saw before. So first of all, how can we leverage that do-it-yourself mentality? I think it's all about educating, helping people, to give them a context, give them training. We use a lot the outside-in framework that we actually also use for value prop development. And that really starts with the outside world, trying to understand, first of all, specify your target, really critical, and then move to what are their dilemmas, their issues, and what do they currently do to solve it. Also help them on the process, on the interview techniques. What is observation? How do you do that? How would you behave? And then also think about the content. Discussed before, define your targets probably, but also try to help them to get to the root cause. Keep on asking those why questions and really go in depth. And as a side benefit, actually, people can also start using this for all the other do-it-yourself research that they actually do. But it's also about giving them some context and frameworks, some tools to actually do this in a proper way. Provide them some simple templates that are not blocking them from doing it because they're too complex, but really focused and simplified. And give them a structure, a system, a couple of steps to go through. And I will come back to that on that a little bit later. But overall, always really important, help them to focus on and what's really required. And it's all about understanding that customer. And finally, explore and engage. There are so many ways to go out. And we actually do that already, many times ourselves, actually. It's about joining a sales rep. It's about shadowing in a clinic in our case. Just be there and see what's going on. Go to trade shows, fairs, talk to vets. But currently, in the COVID-19 situation, it's a bit more complex. So what we also leverage a lot now is kind of be very observant when you do your individual visits to your pet. Most of our colleagues have actually pets, and when they go to a vet, they can ask all the questions. They can go in depth and do their observations. We have a customer service department. We get lots of calls, so people can just sit in, listen there, and try to understand what keeps the customers awake at night. In short, I think it's all about educating the team, provide them a structure to leverage all that positive energy to actually make a success out of that do-it-yourself mentality, as I would call it. And then about how to create more engagement and ownership of that customer. We all think it's really critical that our teams or marketeers really live and breathe the customer. And we always say a picture is worth more than 1,000 words. And this is also true if you really want to understand your target well. So it might start with merging data that you use to kind of report what's going on there. But in the end, if you merge that with the experience in the real situation, I think that's where the real value comes in. It's about understanding the dilemmas of those vets. Hear them out, go in depth on that. Be there in the clinic when Actually, the vets are working with our instruments and kind of trying to explain what they learned from our test with the customers out there in that very hectic situation where the pet owner is actually a bit scared and really uncertain about what's going to happen. So I think especially bringing in that context is really critical. And with that experience, I guess our marketing teams can also become a lot more convincing. It's about combining the data with the experience. Be there, that makes it really rich. And with that, our teams can also actually transform into kind of storytellers. They know the story, they know kind of what goes on there. And it's more like just providing some data and some behavioral facts and kind of enriching that with the true insights, which makes it very powerful. And the final warning final warning there is, don't go where the wind blows. This is where many of these programs fail. Try to focus and become owner of specific topics and issues. Go in depth where it really matters and dare to make choices there. And again, we need to help the team to make those choices. But only then you can create the real in-depth engagement and expertise that's required to make those business decisions. Last point is about how can we bring together those observations into a kind of collective knowledge. We definitely don't want to create another overkill of disconnected data points. I think that's the old essence. Make really sure that you start from a question, from a specific issue, or from a hypothesis, and start to bring together the knowledge that we already have available. So really don't start with a blank sheet. Have a very specific business objective in mind and always narrow down your target audience. Again, I see that many times go wrong, that people don't have a specific target in mind. And then in the end, your output will be so mixed and diverse that it will not really help you. Keep on reminding yourself of the business objective and keep that in mind. Remember what you already know. Think about the knowledge that you already have available and where you can actually build on to get to the next level. And really specify what's missing to help you make a decision or a choice in the end. And then also always remember, an observation is not an insight. I'm probably preaching here to the converted already, but it's very important also to our internal stakeholders to make that very clear. Connect it also with other data points. Find the dilemma, go in depth there so you really understand. And in the end, link that back to your objective. Why did you actually try to cover that information? How does this help you to answer a specific question? To make this all happen, actually also a little bit of process is required. And I don't want to overwhelm you with that, but just a very focused chart to kind of explain the different steps we go for. You start with those observations, make it very easy and light for the team to do it. But then the moment starts when you have to bring that together. You start combining, selecting, actually rewriting, bring in other knowledge points that you have already. Then theme them, cluster them into kind of very concise areas that are actually really connected to your business context. And then start doing the insighting. So really go in depth, try to put a lot of meaning behind it. Again, bring all the other data points that you have. And this will actually already take it to a next level. And then think about how you can integrate it into your business context. Think about your prioritization of the different business topics there. See where the insights come in, and only then start activating them. And I think that's where the real magic can come in. So what really makes a difference here is try to simplify, lower the barrier for participation. Really make it easy to participate, and with that, use all the energy that's actually already out there. Just create a bigger team that helps you to address certain topics. Merge it with other research activities, merge it with other data. I think that's really critical. This is not about standalone activities or one process that you do once per year. No, really connect it to other activities. Also make very clear that you differentiate the what from the so what and the now what. That's really about what do you observe, what's the implication of that, and what should we do about it. And really do it step by step, because only then you can really make sure that in the next step you make the right choice, because you do understand what happened before. Really critical. But we see a lot of times that people that are a bit more action oriented already move directly to the now what. Definitely a big warning, don't do it, because you might actually act on the wrong implication. Also integrate this in your business process. Always connect this to your business priorities and follow up on what's required there. Bring in the relevant data sources. and sometimes use them to check or support what you found. And sometimes they will just prove that your single observation is a kind of outlier. So don't even continue on that path. Really important, so to also build in those checkpoints. And what I think is really critical, and where we have the business partners actually in place at IDEXX, is that they bring the focus, they drive the process, they know actually the business and the marketing background, and they can actually assure the activation. And maybe just to illustrate this point, at IDEXX, we have a similar amount of business partners compared to the number of really market researchers and analysts. And I think this balance is really required to do your job in a proper way. And one final point, and I think that really is probably the most special part of this process, that's when you talk about the art of synthesizing. I think this really makes a difference. This is where we train our people. This is all about fusing what you learn, what you see with the available information. Merge it and create synergies. Use it to reinforce and prove, or just to reject it and say, well, this is actually not correct. A synthesis is not a summary. I can't repeat this enough. Basically, anyone can make a kind of summary, but this is thinking beyond the main conclusions and combine it and connect it with other sources of information that you've seen. Generate a new and a bigger thought out of all you've seen and all you have learned. Elevate it. And I guess only then you can really develop a new point of view and create that kind of aha moment. And I guess only if you really do that well, and yeah, actually that requires a lot of education, but also just doing it, then you will really enjoy the pleasure of coming up with new, unique, and compelling insights that can really help the business moving forward. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm definitely open to your questions.